Another DraftScience drama video presentation. So there's a point where I just have to cut off the commenters, just because I have pointed out and proven certain points. Now they have to concede those points. If you're not going to concede those points, then we're done. So we have Julius Sumner, physics is his business, and Professor Lewin doing simple but basic demonstrations that basically prove the point. Now there's really, if you can do any kind of logic at all, they absolutely prove the point. It's not even a basic proof, it's an absolute, complete, finished, no doubt about it proof. So anyway, and I said that right in the video. So I mean right in this portion of the video. Exactly half. So it's clearly demonstrating that's what the spring produces. The spring always produces the same momentum. There you go. It always produces. It doesn't matter whether it's a brick wall, a styrofoam wall, no wall at all. None of that ever matters. I will pause for a moment. So continuing. So whatever weight object I put on it, it always produces the same momentum. So if I put a twice as heavy object... Right, so the basic point is, I shouldn't have to illustrate this, but the experiments demonstrate... Oh, camera flunked out. That's sort of annoying, isn't it? Yes, it is. Yeah, okay. That's better. Hopefully it's going to record properly, but whatever. You can always do it over. Huh. Anyway, all right, so the simple logic you can apply is that we've done two experiments, okay? One with the masses are the same, and one where the masses are different. And what we've gotten, okay, make a big one here, okay. So you can see, and this one always leaves at the same speed. So no matter what was on the other side of the spring, this side, the one mass, both times left with exactly the same amount of velocity. So it didn't matter whether there was x or 2x, and logically you could understand it wouldn't matter whether it was 5 million x. So I put it next to the Empire State Building, the spring. I want to push the Empire State Building and my 1 meter. So I put the Empire State Building here, okay, and I put the spring, and I put this object, one mass unit, and I get 2. Same exact momentum. All right, that's what was clearly illustrated by the experiment. So it essentially was exactly the same experiment because it did it twice. It perfectly demonstrated what happens when a single spring is attached to a brick wall. Okay, perfectly illustrated, and it showed you that the 1 mass unit goes 2, and the 2 mass unit takes 4 seconds to travel the same distance. Okay, so the big mass did exactly what it's supposed to do, which is have 1/2 the velocity. So it's been proven by the 2 experiments. This proves it. And all you have to do is a little tiny bit of logic. So if you can't, on your own, you obviously couldn't do that little bit of logic, even though I helped you in the video and pointed it out in the video. You can't do that little bit of logic, and yet you'll insult me. That's not acceptable. So yeah, you do it again, you call me a liar again, you do any of this horseshit again, and some new person call me a liar if they want to try it. But you old name-calling assholes, you're done. Okay, you've lost your right to call me names. Because you're wrong, and I was right. This is the experiment. It's identical in terms of its logical mandates. The mandates created by logic of doing these experiments is exactly the same as doing the brick wall experiment. It's logically inescapable. Do you understand what a logically inescapable conclusion is? It's logically inescapable that you can now deduce. See, this is the whole thing. This is why experiments are fun and good. Because you learn things, you gain facts, okay? You combine the facts, and they lead to a conclusion. Just as I've tried to do for you. I've pointed out that the 1/2 mv squared cannot prove itself valuable. There's no experiment that proves you need to use this formula or you get a wrong answer. Momentum has been proven reliably over the history to be very good at calculating where the energy goes. Works really well. You can't show me an experiment where it fails. And there's this terrible history of people who are just petty and wanted to rag against Newton. And that's the history of this stupid formula. It's a piece of crap. Okay, the facts all point to it's a piece of crap. It's a piece of crap. IPOC. It's a piece of crap. All right? That's all the facts are saying it. All the facts lead to that obvious, simple conclusion. Pseudoscience by fancy pants, you know, Richie French douchebags. That's it. And Leibniz, the guy who stole Newton's calculus, and frankly stole 1/2 mv squared in his, you know, the mv squared part. Because actually Huygens wrote that first. Huygens was the first one to say mv squared. You know, the wave guy, okay? He was the first to do it. And Leibniz stole his formula too. Leibniz wasn't just a thief. He went around the world and stole shit out of people's rooms, you know. That's all he did. That was his career. Steal other people's ideas. Well, anyway. So, yeah, I'm done with your insults, okay? So, you have to either just concede you were wrong, or you can just fuck off. Because the evidence is overwhelming against you. You can't keep making these silly arguments that, no, you didn't. Yeah, I did. Okay? Mission accomplished. You wanted the evidence. I found a thing that's close enough. You put Lewin's experiment together with the rubber band guy, you know, Sumner, physics is my business. And there you got two examples, rubber bands and springs, showing you that they always give the same momentum. And you just can't play any game like, what's on the other side? No, it doesn't matter what's on the other side. The spring just throws crap in both directions. And that's all there is. There's just the crap in your side and the crap on his side. You can't share your crap. Shitheads. Alright, anyway. So this asshole, Selbram, whatever that is, you changed the experiment. So again, I didn't do anything. I went out and honestly looked for the example. Did you do any of that work? No. Alright, so I went out and looked for an example and I found the experiment close enough. So I didn't change anything, jackass. Okay, in your original experiment, the spring is attached to a wall or something, or some heavy object. And as I stated right in the video, what the experiment proves is it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how heavy the other side gets. The one side only gets the two. That's all that can go there. The same momentum always goes both directions. Half of the original spring force goes in both directions. The equal and opposite reaction seems to be quite intact. That's probably why Newton said those things. It's because he probably did this experiment, you douche. Oh, damn. All right, wall or heavy. I mean, you could go back to Descartes. Descartes probably did this. Descartes, you know, with carts. Anyway, heavy object where you compress the spring with one object, then replace the object with another one. Right, so essentially we have the replacement experiment right here. The replacement experiment is right there. We did it. We replaced, so we know the same forces. It's just like compressing the spring, so we know the same force always goes in the two directions. So in one case we put the same compression, this mass, then the same compression, the bigger mass, and we found that it's exactly right. The same momentum is imparted on both of them. It goes half as fast. Twice as heavy, half as fast. Alright, so we proved it. Alright, then replace the object with another, and then replace, okay. This doesn't substantiate your original claim. So obviously it does if you apply any simple logic. And the fact that you can't do simple logic means you probably can't do physics. Because physics is a little complicated, lots of little moving parts, right? Trillions and trillions of moving parts. And you have to be an honest, decent person, and you have to pay attention. And you don't want to do any of those things. Okay, now all of a sudden you are talking about an experiment where the spring is attached to two boxes. Again, it doesn't, as the experiment demonstrates, couldn't make any difference ever. What it's attached to doesn't matter. Okay. Of course, momentum is going to be conserved. So now he's conceding momentum is conserved because the spring pushes. See, this is a guy who thinks thrust has to push against a wall or something. He still doesn't get that the atoms are what we've pushed away. That's where the spring is between the atoms of the spaceship and the atoms of the exhaust. The spring is in there already, and it already sprung. See, they're really just too stupid for the conversation. And I should just admit that and block them on sight. Pushes against two boxes with the same force. Okay. This is exactly what is argued to you previously. So that's a lie, okay? Nobody told me that, oh yeah, momentum is the same, because that's what I was arguing, asshole. Okay, what was argued was that the momentum is different. I put a different size object on the same force and I get a different amount of momentum. That's their argument, shit for brain. And no one has ever claimed that momentum isn't conserved. Let's even forget the word conserved and let's just deal with the fact of either successfully transferred to the objects you're looking at or transferred to the environment. All right, everybody agrees it can't go nowhere. So let's not play any games like that's a possibility. My only argument is when you believe in kinetic energy, that has to go nowhere because you can't account for its existence in the environment. You won't find, in the train example, a whole train worth of a momentum floating in the environment somewhere because it's not going to be there. All right, you are arguing against claims that haven't been made. Well, you're just a liar, okay, and I'm not going to accept it. I didn't do any such thing. I've been fairly careful to understand people's arguments and try to address them, so you can just go fuck yourself if you're going to make shitty comments like this. All right, and you do it again, you're blocked. It's that simple. You can't be decent and civil and fair, then you can just fuck yourself. Okay. So now then after I deleted that, this is apparently a professional troll, so he copies and pastes his same comment in again. So he saved it, right? It has exactly the same spacing, right? No, it's different spacing actually. All right, so maybe he didn't do that. All right. So, but it's the same fucking comment. So he sits there and types the same tripe again. If your comment disappeared, it's probably for a good reason, jackass, and you know that. And then he says, you changed the experiment. No, that's the same one. Okay. Now he has another comment. All right. If you have a response or anywhere where I said anything false, you said I was lying, asshole. God damn, you rude fuck. Okay. Yeah, I'm not accepting that. Okay. You have been arguing against claims that haven't been made. No, I know what claims have been made, asshole. All right. You can respond and point out where I said anything false. Yeah, what? I'm not playing your game, jackass. I'm playing my game. I'm not wasting my life chatting with you fuckers. I'm going to dispense with you fuckers. If you can't make a reasoned, relevant argument, then yeah, you're wasting my time, you're wasting the audience time, you're wasting anybody who cares about the truth's time. You're just being a fucking waste of time. So shape up or ship off. Okay, no reason. Yes, there is good reason to remove lies. I don't have to leave your fucking lies in place and respond to your fucking lies. So, PSB, the compulsive liar. If you say that momentum is the same, prove it, but it seems you can't because you don't understand Newton's laws. So after I've explicitly shown him a second experiment demonstrating exactly the same thing, that whether it's a rubber band pulling in or whether it's a spring pushing out, it doesn't care what's on this side. This side will always get the same half of the energy, and this side will get half of the energy. And that's the equal but opposite reaction Newton talks about. So when he talks about Newton's law, equal but opposite reaction is one of those laws. Now, I wouldn't call it a law, frankly, because when you're pouring your energy into something else, there's really no equal and opposite reaction. Okay, but springs do that. Springs push in both directions. Rubber bands pull from both ends. So you're stuck with the fact that, and explosions do that likewise. So you're stuck with the fact that the energy goes both ways. You're creating pressure, either pressure in or pressure out. And when you create pressure, yes, it's going to go both ways. And it's always going to apportion the pressure equally. Like a volcano exploding, you could argue, you know, it's very symmetrical. Just as much crap goes this way as goes that way, kind of thing. But what just a ragged piece of crap as a comment. I just make a 30-minute video pretty much just to him, explaining, see, this works, idiot. Momentum is always the same. Same momentum always comes out. It's not even about momentum being conserved. It's always the very fact that the same momentum comes out of the spring each fucking time, and it doesn't care how big the object is. Bullet or bowling ball, it's going to give it exactly the same amount of energy. The same amount of paint is going to hit it. Where in gravity, no such rule applies. Alright, so this was some other asshole. I think PBS is in here somewhere. I thought there was another one by him. Maybe it's down here. It seems there was another one by the asshole. Well, anyway, we'll just read from this one. So this is some other. It's probably him, but anyway. No, it is not evidence enough. Okay, so we knew that was going to happen, right? Even if I prove the point, there's going to be some other catch-22. These are just religious kooks. They just don't care. Because it's a different problem, again, you are lying. Okay, no. So I'm just saying, just keep typing that word at me after you've been proven wrong, and you're just going to be blocked. So if you want to just guarantee being blocked, keep talking like a little fucking Weasley shithead. Alright, no is different. The wall doesn't move. So again, the experiment already proved it has nothing to do with the wall. You can't change it. Empire State Building, bowling ball, bullet. They all get exactly the same amount of energy. So the one end of the spring is fixed, but to the problem of the video, both ends of the spring is moved, and of course the motion of one mass affect the motion of the other. So as explicitly stated by Professor Lewin and Subner, that's not what happens. So you're overtly rejecting their statements and the physical experiments. So you need to go somewhere else. I can't help you. You're the one disagreeing with the physicists now. Okay, so now it's your project to go tell them they're telling lies. So go call them liars and see how it works out for you. Write, you're a liar on Sumner's videos. I'm sure his relatives will delete you quickly. Go ahead and write you're a liar on Lewin's videos and see how long your comment stays up, fuckhead. Alright, motion of the other because they are attached to the same spring. So again, this is already you're absolutely proven wrong. Okay. But to the experiment you propose, you have actually two different experiments. You compress the spring, you put a body of mass 1, you release the spring, give it to the mass velocity 1, then you stop the experiment and take out the one body and you compress the spring again and then put the body 2 in. Yeah, that's exactly what just took place. That's exactly what was in the video. First experiment was just one mass against one mass. Second experiment was two masses against one mass. And guess what? The one mass side did the same thing both times. Absolute proof. Okay, you again, you release the spring, give the mass velocity 2, and the momentums will not be the same. So again, he's still of the two bodies. So he keeps asserting something that Sumner proved not accurate, and now Lewin has proven not accurate. So why should I indulge in this conversation with you? You've been absolutely proven wrong with two experiments now. So somebody in the audience want to explain why I should pay any attention to this asshole anymore? Why I shouldn't just block him? I mean, he won't concede when he's wrong, and he'll argue with me, but he won't insult Professor Lewin, and he won't insult the dead Sumner. So go insult them. You're also disagreeing with Physics Girl, by the way, too. So why don't you go to their videos and call them liars? Also, I can use, again, Newton's second law, and I will end up with the same result with the experiment of the video. So again, he's saying he can end up with the same result, right, when it's impossible, okay, because the kinetic energy formula will not match, okay, in the case of the different masses. Your math will say one has twice as much energy as the other. That's what your math will overtly say. The light cart will have twice as much energy as the other cart. Completely inconsistent with the momentum. Anyway. I can also use conservation of energy because the initial potential energy of the spring become kinetic energy of the body 1 and 2. So this is just absolute rubbish, right? I mean, we already know the energy's in the spring and it's going to be converted just like a car hitting it. We're just going to transfer the energy from the spring to the cart. That's all that takes place. It's a simple transfer. You can't transfer more energy than the spring has. The spring can't deliver more energy than it has. He's basically saying that the energy has more power. Okay, it can deliver various amounts of power when clearly it can't. Clearly a piece of dynamite would do exactly the same thing. The dynamite doesn't change how much dynamite it is because you put a feather in front of it or you put a brick wall in front of it. The dynamite doesn't know you're playing little mass games with it. It has the same pressure potential, the same ability to create pressure, no matter what you put in front of it. Okay, so if I use the same laws, so you keep talking about these laws, again, you're done being a professional law understander. You obviously don't understand this word law. You don't understand what principles are, you don't understand what facts are, and you don't understand what logic is. Okay, which they all tell me that what you are saying is wrong. So again, you can't say I'm wrong because I'm basically affirming exactly what your professor said. They will give the same result with the experiment, so this video proves nothing. So you said the momentum would change, that it wouldn't be half the speed. You said it would be 3/4 of the speed. You said if I put the heavier object on the spring that's twice as massive, it won't leave with just half the velocity. You said to make your kinetic energy come out equal, you made it more velocity. The experiment just showed what the velocities are. The 4 and 2 are halves of each other. It didn't come out 5 and 2, right? So you've been proven wrong, and here you are asserting that nothing was proven. Yeah, it was. Okay, it is not my second law the only thing I use. Okay, so that's your business. Okay, the point is you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. There's a huge conflict between the kinetic energy formula and momentum. They get different answers to the same question. That's undoubtable, and the only question is which one's more reliable, and what's being proven is momentum is reliable and kinetic energy is not. Which is, of course, is Newton's second law. So he just keeps saying Newton's second law has something to do with 1/2 mv squared. It has nothing to do with it. It wasn't in the history. It's not part of the history. You're just making up, you're revisionizing the history. For 120 years, 1/2 mv squared had absolutely zero connection to F equals ma. Not a single person argued it. It wasn't part of a single argument involved in the controversy. Not a single person said, you're disobeying F equals ma. Not a single statement was made on that contention. So you're just lying about the history, lying that somehow Newton believed in this bullshit kinetic energy formula. Absolutely zero evidence Newton saw anything but just mass and velocity. No velocity squared, no mass squared, just mass and velocity. So you're lying about the history, you're lying about Newton, you're trying to cover your bullshit in his skin, you're trying to steal Newton's brain and wear it. You don't have Newton's brain. You're a fucking asshole and a troll. Yeah. Also, if what Walter Lewin is correct, go see what he says about inelastic collisions. I don't have to, okay? I don't think Walter Lewin has a single clue on this subject. The fact is, though, that when he did the experiment, he couldn't just make up fake results. So clearly, doing the experiment, he could have a brain. But early in the very video I played, he does say, look, isn't it weird? The kinetic energy, lost kinetic energy. That's kind of fucked up, right? And it was only a tiny amount. It was only like 2% of the kinetic energy was lost, and that was a problem. Obviously, if he did a different example, he could lose half the energy and then have to explain to the class where half the energy went. But he's comfortable because he's a dualist, okay? Just like he played both parts when he talks about light. He 1 minute thinks it's a particle and 1 minute thinks it's a wave. He's just you know, in his little loop-de-doo fake world. He's doing the same thing with kinetic energy. He's using specific experiments to sit there and contrive some bullshit about how, well, I don't know what it is, what kinetic or momentum, I don't know which one to trust. No, it's not complicated. So yeah, maybe I can find some Professor Lewin videos and make fun of them because they're probably full of shit. But the point is I never said his experiment was a complete fraud or something. I mean, I never said that he faked experiments. What I've said is he's engineered them to show something in particular, that he presents them carefully so you don't see the corners. You know, that, oh, you know, there's a motor in there. You know. All right, says about collisions in lecture 16. Well, that's fine if you think you're going to win the argument with what he says, but he's not. You're not. And I think you know you're not. Because you would have linked me to it already. You would have linked me to the time code where Professor Lewin reveals how kinetic energy got the right answer and momentum got the wrong answer. Also, see what he says, the formula for the kinetic energy, what is Newton's second law. So, again, if he wants to play some game doing silly derivatives, he does do that. That's his business. I'm just saying I already know quite certain that it's not Newton's formula. It's not Newton's idea. You're just stealing Newton's brain and wearing it. You're just being a terrible fucking creepy bastard to do such a thing. You know Newton wouldn't agree with you. You have no evidence to think Newton thinks yours is the right truth. Newton and Descartes were consistent with each other. You're consistent with Huygens and Leibniz. Okay? So you have to understand, you can say Leibniz says. You can say whatever the Dutch kook is. You can say his name. But don't be trying to say Newton thought your formula made any sense at all. Because I don't think Newton ever put two words together that could ever be perverted into saying, square the velocity. Good idea. No. Didn't happen. Alright. So like I said, change your tone or just fuck off. You've been proven wrong. You've been proven a slanderer. Okay, a liar, and stop it or fuck off. Yeah. I fulfilled my obligation to prove you wrong. I've proven you wrong. Okay, 1.93 is half of 406, which, and it isn't 3/4 of it. It isn't extra kinetic momentum thingy. Okay, you didn't get the extra velocity that you claim was there. It's not there. The heavy thing didn't make extra velocity. So you're out of luck, fuckhead. All right. So, enough of the video again. Let's just make sure there's no other douchebag commenters. Oh, here's what's, yes, well, yeah, there's another one. I didn't read that one, did I? No, I don't think I did. Alright, deal with that pile of shit too then. Well, yes, of course. See, there's no point of saying yes, of course, about everything, because obviously all this stuff will just be in contention. Again, this is catch-22 land. Nothing can be stated without having to go through this infantile process of establishing it as a truth. The acceleration is consistently changing. Well, obviously it's not. So you should have said in gravity. Because it's not in the kinetic ball example. The acceleration is over in a blink of the eye. Okay, the acceleration is almost a non-process. Deceleration, acceleration is almost a non-process. It's so blink of the eye fast. So why would you worry about what consistency is? All you would worry about is what's velocity initial and velocity final. There's nothing else. It's over. That's the end. There isn't any continuing derivatives. There's no integral to worry about. It's over before it even happened. All right, changing with respect to time, also known as jerk in physics. Well, you're all sounding like jerks to me. That is why, in order to know what the acceleration is at a given time, again, it really doesn't matter. Even in gravity, I mean, fuck, why are we even having this conversation? Gravity's doing the same thing every second. It's just adding this much distance, okay, and 10 meters per second of velocity. So it gives you this much distance, half of the 10 meters per second, 5 meters. It gives you 5 meters of distance plus a velocity that increases by 10 meters per second. So that's what it's doing each second. So it's adding exactly the same little bit each second. But the point is you're collecting it. So the first 10 meters per second you add, and now you have 20 meters per second, and now your velocity is 30 meters per second, and now your velocity is 40 meters per second. But you've added to that, so now it's going from 10 to 30 to 60. It's increasing by double multiples, or whatever, squared multiples. It's the inverse square law, sort of, because there's two different things that are doubling. To quadruple the distance, you're doubling the two things. You're having the mass and doubling the velocity. So you're giving it a huge advantage, in the sense you're giving it twice the velocity, and it has half the mass, so it collects half as less gravity. So it has two advantages in getting to a point. That's why it goes 4 times higher. Half the story is because it's lighter and it hits less gravity, and half the story is you started it with twice as much velocity. Whatever. I mean, there's just no, people are just insufferable bastards. That's why, in order to know what the acceleration is in a given time, you have to take the derivative of the position vector twice. Well, I'm sorry, you don't multiply the position vectors time each other. You subtract them. You subtract the position vectors. Also, to reduce confusion, whenever you are using your board, P, I know that already. Oh yeah, I'm just going to delete this pile of shit. I've shown on Lewin's board. So why are you saying this shit? Yeah, I don't know. P means momentum. I'm not going to draw a P. Sorry. That's your physics, okay? I can draw an M and say that's momentum. I can draw MV and say that's momentum. But I don't have to use your shit fucking terminology. Why? What asshole thought P was a good way to describe momentum? No, I said fucking momentum is energy. I said fucking momentum is force. And you'll never make a rational argument explaining how it isn't exactly that. How exactly isn't F equal P? How exactly do those two things not equal each other? How will you not get exactly your momentum from the force? Now, obviously, you could argue the force, it's only half the force. You could argue that, but we know that the only way we measure things is based on the half we care about. Okay, the half that goes in the wall we don't pay any attention to. So we know that. But anyway, I mean, you people are just too anal. All right. M means mass. Yeah, everybody can figure that out. And clearly context could figure it out. But clearly you could draw momentum, as an M with an arrow. So you could put like you could put a little line right through the middle of the M. And then you know it's momentum because it has a vector. Lots of ways you could preserve some sort of reason in your little silly symbols. And you chose not to. And that's your bet. Your physics is shit. Your mathematics is convoluted bullshit. Okay, my whole critique is you don't know how to do logic and physics very well, and it's very illogical to use P as the symbol for momentum. That's just idiotic. I mean, there's not even close to a good word to put in that P. PP? I mean, what do I do with P? What P word? I could say power. Yeah, okay, we could say power. Momentum is power. And it literally is. But like I said, I have no interest in your standard model of crap, because I'm arguing essentially that yes, 50% of it just crap. So anyway, all right, well, whatever. It's just a bullshit comment. Doesn't get to the point. So why don't you explain how the kinetic energy formula is useful? So show me a circumstance where it comes in like it's integral. Like if you did momentum, you get the wrong answer. So show me momentum getting a wrong answer somewhere as regards to the energy in a system. Show me where momentum, if you followed the momentum, you'll get a wrong answer. Show me that example. And you won't be able to, because this whole formula was invented out of silly clay experiments where they got the wrong answer. They didn't realize clay isn't a very good ruler. And that's the only reason why this stupid, idiotic, moronic formula exists. It wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the fact that clay is a bad ruler. Yeah, that's the reason why it exists. That's it. All right. Now, I don't like it. It's rude. Poorly formed, I'll say. Okay, so I think we're done now. Peace and quiet. That's the way we like it. That's the only way it's going to be, right? Just a bunch of trolley accounts arguing. Nobody with any, I'm a real person. I'm putting my integrity behind what I'm saying. I have a YouTube account with some videos. I'm a person. No, just a bunch of little trolley, Saka County, bullshit. And here I give you every chance to make a decent argument, and you can't accomplish the task. All right. So now we're done. This has been a DraftScience video presentation and such.